mañana va a haber una masterclass que van a impartir además junto con Hein Bottenberg, que es el Head of Music del Departamento de Música, es pianista, es vocal coach también, supongo. Y me imagino que tendréis la oportunidad de hacer, los que vayáis a cantar en esa clase magistral, también preguntas de índole personal sobre lo que os propongan y sobre lo que musicalmente y a nivel artístico también os pueden decir. Muchas gracias a los dos por estar aquí en este momento y espero que sea de mucha utilidad para vosotros lo que vayan a decir. No tengo, además, que recordaros, porque seguramente lo sabéis, que algunos de nuestros alumnos en la escuela ya han pasado por este programa y además han hecho, pues, por lo menos el feedback que nos han dado siempre ha sido muy interesante de lo que han vivido. De hecho, lo que le hemos pedido a Guy Justen que haga hoy, además de hablarnos de su programa, es que nos hable de nuestros alumnos, que ha encontrado como ventajas o como inconvenientes al trabajar con nuestros alumnos españoles. Y tiene unos puntos muy interesantes que ya hemos debatido en un encuentro anterior que hemos tenido vía internet y que espero que hoy podamos también aquí aclarar también. La conferencia va a ser en inglés, espero que podamos seguirla sin problema. Gracias.
¿Cuánto tiempo? How long can I speak?
As long as you want.
As long as I want. Don't say that to me. Never say that to an opera director. They keep talking, you know. Can I take this off or not?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Well, you can see I'm not shaved. Since 2 years. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. I'm trying to go and speak slowly. Now, whenever you have a question, and that's very important, please just ask. Interrupt and ask. I'm not offended by questions. You know, I'm only offended by people who look at me and don't understand anything what I'm saying. You know, I have been working in Japan, in Tokyo. I did Die Entführung aus dem Sarai from Mozart in German, only with Japanese singers. And they never asked any question. Never. And every rehearsal, I thought they understood what I told them, but the next morning I saw they didn't get anything from what I asked them to do. And of course, the simple thing is when I found out, for them they are not allowed to ask a question, because asking a question to a master means that the master did not explain himself very well. Yes, that's why they didn't say anything. So I had to always try and be very friendly and check whether they understood what I was saying or not. But I hope the people here from the beautiful city of Madrid, they will understand where I talk about, and if not, you just ask me. So as Julio said in the introduction, I am the general manager of the International Opera Academy. This is a postgraduate school which I started 22 years ago in Belgium. Muchas gracias. Okay, there's water for everybody. I started it 22 years ago, and I started it because I was already then an opera director, and very often critics ask me, why do you always hire strangers, people from outside? Where are the young Belgian singers? Why do they not sing in our productions? And then I thought, that's actually a good question. And then I start looking around, and I didn't see the singers. And then I went to the conservatory, and then I saw what they were doing there, and then I understood why we didn't have singers who would be able to sing on a professional level. Simply because in our country, at that point, the basic education was not strong enough, was too much also focused on theory, you know, on hearing, on reading, but not on singing. Singers only sang 30 minutes a week. 30 minutes a week? Now, how can you become a singer when singing only 30 minutes a week? How can you play football when you train 30 minutes a week? You know, it's impossible. So the first thing I did, I started to go to the conservatory before I started this school. And we changed the curriculum in the conservatory. And we start to bring in acting lessons, movement lessons, language lessons, as much as we could. Yes. Still, I do not think that it is enough, but we made a step forward. But now I'm talking about 20 years ago. So by this time, I think we should renew the curriculum again. And that is a little bit also the issue where I'm going to talk about you today, ladies and gentlemen. The situation in the world of opera is changing. And it is not changing just by the year, it is changing by the day. By the day. But when we go back to the history of opera, right? Opera only exists for the day. When Verdi wrote his Rigoletto, which he performed in his own city, Busseto, in the north of Italy, he didn't compose La Donna Mobile just before he started the opening night. He didn't give the score to the orchestra because he knew when he would give the score before, everybody in the village would whistle even before the show opened. Yes? So everything was made on the spot. Everything was made on the day. And Verdi himself didn't see the production again after it was performed a couple of days in Busseto, e basta. And when he made this opera like Otello, for instance, first in Italy, later into Paris, he changed the opera. He changed the opera. He brought in, the ballet, which he had to do because it was the Paris tradition, but he also changed some dramatical issues which he saw after visiting the first row of performances in Italy. So opera was a very, very active, changing form of art. And now we turned in, and then I'm talking about the 90s, especially, but also still in the 20th century, the conservation of opera. Oh no, you cannot do that. Oh no, you cannot change that. Oh no, you should not touch that. Right? This has been, of course, turned in opera very often to a kind of museum art. Just do the same thing again and again and again. Right? And I now see a lot of changes going on. There are a lot of changes going on, and these changes are not just happening from one day to the next day. They go over quite a period of time. There has been many influences politically on the world of opera. I just recall, we are not all that old, yes, but when we go back to the 20th century and we see, for instance, the crisis in the 70s, the oil crisis, something that we know as today again, right, which was a huge big impact on the cultural world, right, because we always pay the price first, okay? If there is no more money into the box of the government, the first they take out is culture, education, swimming pools, and libraries. Yeah, the last two is a joke. But the first two is something that influence us, right? And that is going to happen again. I can tell you it is going to happen again. We had the Cold War, which led to the fall of the Berlin Wall. And the fall of the Berlin Wall had a huge impact on opera in Europe, simply because there was all of a sudden a large group of singers who could all of a sudden enter to the Western European world of opera. That changed. It brought also a whole change of culture in our opera world. And opera has been permanently busy with these things, to deal with these things. Not so long ago, we had the bank crisis. The bank crisis, the first thing that happened was subventions stopped. Subventions were limited. Sponsors, United States of America, You know, United States of America, as you probably know, the Metropolitan Opera has just enough subvention to pay the electricity of the building. And all the rest are private sponsors. Those sponsors pay a lot, yes, a lot. When I did Romeo and Juliet in the Metropolitan Opera, my production was sponsored with $20 million by two families, okay? But when the bank crisis came, they had no more money in the pocket. So this also had, again, an influence on opera. Recently, the COVID crisis. And now, since we are in the tail of this COVID crisis, because we're still having the masks, it's not over yet. I was supposed to go to a concert yesterday in Brussels. It was cancelled because the Danish quartet only had 3 healthy persons. The 4th one had COVID. So they cancelled the concert. You know, that was it. It's still out there, the beast. It's not over. We have to watch out. We have to look what is going to come in the wintertime again, you know, and we have to be ready for this. I hope at least that we learned something. But it has a huge impact on the world of opera as for today. And this is now today. So let's speak about today because it's your future. And let's see what the consequences will be for the future, right? Because in the middle and north of Europe, what we see now is that we have, through the COVID crisis, a huge traffic jam of productions. A lot of productions who are cancelled or postponed. So they have all still to find their place somewhere in the coming years. In the coming years, because many of these artists have a contract. And the opera houses did not have the money to pay them out, so they keep them on hold. Okay? I'm trying now to organize master classes for the International Opera Academy. I can tell you guys, it was never so difficult as it is now. Why not? Because famous artists, which I invite to come for my master classes, they don't say yes to a master class now, because they wait to see what happens with their productions, where they earn much more money, right? And when those productions come, then they will see in their agenda what is free to do master classes. That's a consequence. I'm going to start in 2 weeks' time with a new production of Richard Strauss' Arabella in Germany. Yes. It was supposed to happen last year, so I delivered the whole concept of this production to the opera house. All the calculations were made, and we were within our budget. Because you have to know, as an opera director working in Germany, in my contract, it says what the amount of money is I can spend on the production. If I spend more, it's my responsibility. The one for me and my team. But we were within the budget. And then Corona came, and now the same production costs 40% more. We didn't change anything. Simply because wood, metal, you know, all the sources we use to build the sets, 40% more. Now somebody has to pay for this, correct? And the boxes are empty. And now, on top of that, we had a guy in Russia who thought he should do something, you know, to put his stamp and his footmark in history. This, of course, is going to be the next impact. Because we have now, again, problems with oil, fuel, gas, etc., etc., etc. And we have a war, we have an economy that is at this moment blocked. This comes on top of the problems that we have. Now, should we now all commit suicide? No. No, not at all. Because what I see at this moment, that is something that I really want to give you as young artists as a message. Things are changing. We learned, at least for that part of Europe that I know, where I'm busy and where I'm dealing with every day, I see we learned something. And I can tell you concretely what this means. When, let's say 10 years ago, when I was still, you know, in the middle of my career, now I'm building slowly down and off. It's time for you guys to take over. 4 years ahead, my agenda was full. If it was not full, I had a crisis. I thought I was not going to survive. That was how long opera productions were programmed and were produced. This we learned. This is not happening anymore. Still today, opera houses who usually plan so long ahead, they do not know what they're going to do next season. Next season. And that is a good thing. That is a good thing because it creates opportunities. We also learned to be very carefully by booking people long ahead, and especially when those people had to travel, right? Because here you go, when you have to start next week, like for instance me with my Arabella, thanks God I have nobody from Southeast Asia because they can simply not get here since we cannot travel through Russia. Well, they can go via Istanbul or via India, but how will they arrive? And will they arrive? You know? So we are going, and that's what I see at least, we are going to put much more effort on taking people from around us. You know? We are also, and that's what I'm seeing in the casts, taking young people, giving people chances, because we cannot take the risk, but we have to do the show. So we are going to change this old traditional way of programming, you know, and opera gets again more and more the word of the day. As the price from the fish change every day, we learn to change. This system becomes much more complex, but through the complexity, it's also more mobile. There's more mobility in it. And this is a good thing. This is a good thing. I can tell you very clearly with an example that you don't think, where the hell is he talking about and where does he got this from? Next season, one production that the Opera House in Belgium, the Flanders Opera Ballet and Opera Company, is going to do, they hired 6 young singers. They never ever would do that before. Those people would come from Sweden, from Norway, from whatever, and now they come, 5 are alumni from our school, and the 6th one is a student of our school. And these are the 6 they are going to hire. And this is not just this only one production, it's going to happen more and more. That's a good thing about this pandemic. Yes?
Leading roles are hired. They're hiring.
No, it's supporting roles. I have to be, but these supporting roles would be hired anyway by people from abroad, by professional singers with a big CV, where the agencies came in. The agencies, my God, what a drama. What a drama. All the big agencies are bankrupt because they have such a lot of expenses in the buildings they hire, in the people they hire, the offices they hire, and they couldn't bring their singers anywhere. There was no income. So you see a lot of these big agencies cut. And of course the agencies were a very big partner in between the opera house and the singers. They still are, but now I really would suggest go and find a good working local agency with its contacts around the area, you know. Forget IMG for a while, you know, and I was with IMG, so I know what I'm talking about, right? But the big ones at this moment, they are blocked. It will all come, but you have always to react, and that's what I want to say, react on the facts. React on what is the situation now. The situation now is different than it was yesterday. Tomorrow it will be different again. And the good thing I see, and generally, is that the opera business is adapting very quickly to this new situation, simply because we had no chance. The COVID forced us to do so. We had to react. We have to do something different. We cannot start again with business as usual. because it's not working. Also, we have to rebuild the audiences again. Eh? We see that in the ticket sale. Of course, Bohème always sells, right? Whatever you do with Bohème, it sells out, right? But you see in the other productions that it's hard in the ticket sale at the moment. It will all recover. It will all recover. But I also believe there that there is a possibility and an opportunity to connect young, promising artists to the audience, you know, so that the audience has not only the opportunity to see them, but they grow with them, to see them in different productions, coming again and again. We see opera houses investing in young ensembles. This is new. This is new. The big German houses, they have a too big overhead. You know, Germany has 90 opera houses, eh? 90, 9-0, right? Most of them contain ensembles. You cannot afford it anymore. Why not? Well, because everything I was saying before. You have now to pay much more just to make a production happening. To keep your business open, it costs much more, and you cannot give all that money away to the wages you have every month. So what are they doing? They are reducing the number of artists in the ensembles and investing more and more in opera studios. That's what you see. Opera studios now, for instance, if you take the whole opera houses around Essen, Gelsenkirchen, this area in Germany, they have now their own opera studio, simply because that will be the new source for young singers to bring them into their ensembles. That's what they're doing. That's why they are there at the moment. And this is a positive evolution, I think, one of the positive evolutions of the COVID crisis so far. You know? So that's a change. There are more changes. There are more consequences of this. At this moment, I was especially talking about the financial impact and how the finances are forcing us now to rethink the concept, to rethink the idea of opera, of not doing always the same again and again and again. You know, of programming 4 or 5 years ahead, the same productions with the same people, and it's over. It's over. Something else, artistically. Artistically, when I started the International Opera Academy, we could work with the 19th century repertoire. 19th century repertoire was well enough to train our singers. Yes, if they could do that well, they could have a job. This was also still a period in which you had singers who were opera singers, you had lead singers, you had oratorium singers, and they all could make their living, and you could choose. I think today it's very hard to be just one of the category. You have to be trained in all the disciplines in order to make your living. That is a change. Another change is that there were 20 years ago, exceptionally, you had contemporary music on the program of a major opera house. Now, the number of contemporary music productions in the big houses are rising enormously. I was just counting in Belgium, there were actually only this year in the major houses alone 4 contemporary productions. That means that if you train a singer today, you need to train him in contemporary repertoire as well. You need to do it. It is important that this happens. You cannot train somebody to do high jump in athletics and train him to jump 1.50 meters. That's a crime, because the world record is over 2 meters. Okay? So you have to change your program in order that he now can jump 2 meters. 20 years ago, it was lower, but now it's different. That's something a singer today needs to have in his training. Maybe not in his basic training, but definitely in his postgraduate before he goes into the business. You know? That is also what the International Opera Academy tries to do. We try to be the foot into the door of the future of the singers. Okay? They are in our room, we train them, and as soon as the door goes open, we put our foot in that door. And we make sure that they get out, that they get into the other room, which is the room where the business is functioning, where the business is growing, where people can make a career. You know, it's not a school from our level, cannot be a school which is happy to give diplomas at the end of 2 years. Basically, guys, it doesn't mean shit whether you have it or not. You have to be a great singer. That's what they're going to do. Have you ever done an audition where they ask you a diploma? They never will. They will immediately see what you do, how you sing, how you behave, how your languages are, how your body posture are, which repertoire you can do. That's what they're going to check. That's what they're going to check. And so, the program of such an institute needs to be adapted. You have to be awake. You have to see what is going around, and then you change there where you need to change. You know? Our school, and we have this flexibility, is not a school for teachers. You know? We have a school for students, and then we will see which is now a good group of teachers to join this year. We have good teachers, so we can keep them, but we don't have to. If at one point something happens that we need to go another route, another way, and therefore I need to engage another teacher, I will. I will. Because we're doing it for the singers, and not doing it for us. On top of that, it's one of the rules, the one who trains, who teaches at our school needs to be in the business. I think it's very important that you are in the business today, that you know what is going on there. That is very important. You have to, and if you are not able anymore because you have a certain age or whatever, you have to go out there and you have to see what's going on, so that at least you can inform your students what is taking place today, what is happening today. You know? Languages become more and more important. More and more important. You know, the world it's a global world. You know, we have internet. All the kids have all internet. They know English, they know foreign languages by internet. You know, you cannot just mark foreign languages. You have to know them, you have to speak them, so you have to be trained. So now, the number of hours that we invest in speech and language training rise also. Before, nobody took care. If it sounds a little bit French, it's okay. It's okay. At least it's not, I think it's not Russian. No, it's Romeo and Juliet. Okay, it's French. This is not going anymore. It's more precise, it's more globalized. You know, you have to train more. Acting becomes very important. Very important. And not just passive acting. Not just passive acting. They want you as a singer today to think with the director, with the production team about the production. You have to have an idea. You have to have an idea. Before, a director's job was to send the singer from left to right and make sure that he or she was not falling into the pit while singing the aria. That was basically the job. Today, that's not the job anymore. That's not the job anymore. And on top of that, since we have not so much money anymore left, since we can't program these huge big productions years ahead, we go to choose more smaller productions, mobile productions, productions which you can easily take from one place and put it in another place. You know? Things on location, because we were trained that the big auditoriums were too big, the people were not allowed to come in due to COVID. So what would we do? We moved opera productions into smaller theaters. And then we saw, oh, that's easy, and it's working, and people are still coming. And then we can move it from this theater to another theater, and to another theater, and so a whole new circuit is starting, in which, again, the role of the singer also becomes more important. He's not so far away anymore. He's more present. He or she needs to stand out, needs to speak out, you know? And that's why now a part of our program, for instance, is that we invest in a company, and this company has an old factory in Ghent, where they have the opportunity to have young artists, different artists, you know, painters, sculptors, singers, musicians, movie makers, you know, and they, when they have an interesting project, they get money and they can work that project out. They can try it out, especially with the intention overlapping. It's very good, the movie maker who wants to work with a classical singer, who wants to work with a pianist, classical pianist. These kind of projects I see not just in Ghent, but I see them appearing everywhere. You know, like mushrooms. They are popping up. They are popping up. So we invest in such a program so that during the education, a singer can see whether this is something for him or her. Because everything I'm saying, guys, it's not for everybody, eh? It's not for everybody. Maybe you are not made to be a high jumper. Maybe you are a wide jumper. You understand? It's not a discipline. And we cannot create the perfect singer, the singer that fits everywhere. But the individuality of the singer becomes more important. It's true. It is true. Listen guys, it's very simple. Here, in my address book, there are telephone numbers from every opera I want to do. I find a singer who can sing there. So basically, I don't need you. Okay? I can stay home, call them, engage them, basta. But that's not interesting, is it? Because it's always the same. It's always the same. And what makes the difference? What makes the difference? I mean, here we go again, Romeo and Juliet, Gilda. Okay? I've done it. First with Dessin, then with Giorgio, and then with Netrebko. So 3 of the world divas to do it. Now, if you heard it with them, there's a huge difference. Eh? I'm not going to speak out now, you know, especially not about the Russians. You know, I'm not going to speak out, but it's a huge difference. You will know by listening to them. One could say after this, how can I listen to another soprano singing Juliet? I have always this in my ear. I know how they do it. I know what you have to achieve in order to be that number one. You know? Well, the difference is that I'm always interested in looking into a new idea about it, a fresh vision on it. Maybe some of you who is not able ready on the standard of these ladies, but where you hear and where you see this is somebody who thinks about this role, who has an idea about this role, and who will be able to perform this role in a couple of years. That will you make standing out in an audition from all the other sopranos who also sing it, and who are also not on the level of the top 3, well, the past top 3, right? And I was saying the past top 3, there is a big gap, eh? There is a big gap at this moment. There is room free. Where are the divas from today? Male and females. Where are they? Well, they're still around. I mean, still Johannes Kaufmann pretends to sing very well, so you still have them, you know. But it's not anymore what it was 10, 15, 20 years ago, where you had a bunch, you know, and Pavarotti, and Placido, and Carreras, and You know, when you could choose. And we need those people. We need those people, you know, because they are a picture. We have to focus on them. But we should not be so impressed that we can't do it ourselves anymore. You know, we can grow. We can maybe become some of them. Maybe also not, but it doesn't matter. You know, we could live up to them. But we have to do it by being very personal. That's the message I want to send out. You have to be very individual. You have to be very personal in the interpretation of your role. You have to make it your own. You don't have to imitate. You know, never ever imitate. Don't try to stand up. Make it your own, make it yourself, and give yourself time. And give yourself time. The hardest thing for a singer to say is no. And no is no in every language. But to say no, that's important. A career is not made in 5 years. Career is also not made in 15 years. After 20 years, you can say, it looks like the person has an interesting career coming up. And it's only at the end of the career that you can say, wow, that was a big career. And I have the impression that people want immediately to reach the top. They want immediately to be in that group of top singers. And they make the wrong choices. They make the wrong choices. Very often they are also forced to do so by agents, by financial circumstances that they just have to take the job. I know. But I have seen many more people ruin their careers by saying too quickly yes than to say no. You know, the list there is long. The list is long. Even on the way here, I found out that a great soprano, fantastic soprano, and I know her since many years. She came from the States, and actually she started in one of my productions in France. She's growing up to a fantastic soprano. And now I read that she's going to sing Salome. And I thought, esta, that's it. The girl is not 40 yet. Why should she do it? Why? You can still sing it. You know, when you keep creating your voice wonderfully, you can still sing it way in your 40s and even later. I did it with Deborah Polaski. Deborah Polaski was nearly 70 when she did it, Electra, and still fantastic. You know, I did Nina Stemme first Salome in Barcelona. Nina was up to the end of her 40s, and she started with this very carefully, extremely well prepared. You know, because this I have to say from these divas, you know also why they are divas, because they prepare very well. They prepare very well. They start from the text. Can you imagine? They start from the text. They learn the text first. And they see whether they have a connection, whether they understand this text before even singing a note. I had Nathalie Dessay, because she lives in Paris, and I in that period lived in Brussels. She came by train 2-3 times to go simply reading the text from Romeo and Juliet. And to ask and to look into Shakespeare and to see where were the differences and how did I think that I was going to do this, and informing, absorbing, thinking before then making the decision to do it. She did not decide it yet. Nina Stemmen did not decide it. She did not say, I'm going to sing Salome now. No. She wanted to be convinced. She wanted to be sure. She wanted to have a connection with me to see whether we together could make something out of it. And that's what you have to do. Guys, you have to invest there. Because up there in the north of Europe, that's demanded more and more and more. You as an individual, you know. Having said all of this, the voice is the important thing, right? I'm not saying anything else, just to keep any misunderstanding. You know, it all starts and ends with the voice. But the voice alone is not enough anymore. That's not enough anymore. You cannot just play the piano and not using the pedals. You know, to have the whole instrument, you better use them as well. No, Julio, once in a while? Yes. Very carefully. Yeah, but very often I have the impression that the singer is trained, and 10 years later somebody says, oh, by the way, there are pedals too. You know, it's an instrument. It's everything that needs to be trained from the start to the end. And if you prepare a role, you have to do the same thing. You know.
May I ask you something?
Yes, Clara.
Well, you're saying, talking about young artists. How old do you believe a young artist becomes a different artist, but not young? Let's say, in your opinion, Central Europe, what it is considered to be a young artist?
That is depending on the Fach.
The 20s, depending on the Fach, yeah.
Yes.
Say for lyric soprano,
20, 25 up to 30. Starting there. And 20, and 20, and then upwards. Well, it is also quite clear. I mean, look into the repertoire. Look how long the mezzo can go alone. You know, in all these matrushkas and all these mothers and all these aunts and grandmas and whatever there is, and you can still end up by doing the Contessa in Queen of Spades. You know, mine was 80 and she was fantastic. You know, sorry. Yeah, 80, and she sang every morning. She did her vocalises. It was Rita Gore, by the way. It was not a small little singer, you know.
But there's several standards that now very aggressively speaking out, like Russians, Italians. They're very young. They're approaching a very difficult repertoire. I don't know if their careers are lasting enough. But at least, if you go to the competitions, you will see that Russians and Italians are very young. So that's why I was asking, which is your opinion about being a young artist nowadays?
Yeah.
Except for Russian or Italians.
Yes. Well, because the problem there is, and that is also what we see in our school, we see that the age from students applying to our school gets younger when they come more south. Yeah. So we see now the Portuguese, which is nearly the end, the more south of Europe now, they come in on the age of 20, 21. They did not even finish a degree yet because the situation economically is so bad, there is nearly nothing anymore in the world of opera over there. So they try to escape as soon as possible. And you see similar things happening in Italy. In Italy, of course, is a disaster in the operas. I mean, if you go and work there, make sure that you have a very good contract and that you have your money before you even start, at least a part of it, because otherwise you never see it. You know, you never see it. So they all try to escape. They all try to escape. Now, the possibility to escape is that you have to be different. Okay? You have to make yourself known. And that's also a reason that some of them are forced to do things they should not do at this moment, simply to stand out. Because very often in their basic education, they have a lack at culture, you know, Russians especially. Their culture background is, I must say, very limited. Acting-wise, there is nearly nothing going there. So the only way they can stand out is impress voice-wise and sing parts from which you think, what the hell? What the hell? But I think it's going to be for a very short time. And they are not considered as being really an artist. They are a young star, but there's so many of these young stars. And after 5 years, you think, where are they? Where are they now? What's happening with them? They're gone again. They're gone again. You really have to build up, and to come back to your previous question, it really depends on also the character and the personality you have. You know, I can never say, of course I have to. I cannot say a soprano who comes to my school and sings the Inas, Zerlina, Despina, yeah, and is 33. Then I have to say, no, I'm not going to let you in, okay?
Other question, I would to say that perhaps, because you are saying everything is changing from today, perhaps the market doesn't want any more long career. Because you say, yourself say, we don't have now big leaders. And you say, you speak about Negresco and the same. But perhaps now the market doesn't want anyone who make career more than 5 years or 10 years, because this reason that everything is changing and we want always something new. And
Well,
we should think about that.
well, the opera business always was looking, and it was not the opera business, but it was the CD industry. You know, the record companies, they were always looking for new stars. You know, they were actually guiding the market. But of course, since Spotify, they are out as well. So they have no really more big saying. It's not anymore that they decide the repertoire. The agencies are no longer guiding the market. The agencies were also very interested in having people for a long time because, of course, it brought in money. So they are out. So you see two major players who are not taking part anymore, right? Then the ensembles in Germany. Of course, when you were a good ensemble singer, you could have a long career. You could enter your ensemble when you were 24 and you could stay until your pension, right? But they are also not there. No, but
you will have your work and you will be a good professional singer, but
although I know quite some important stars who came from such an ensemble. I mean, I still would suggest to everybody who has a chance, if you can get into an ensemble in Germany, go in the beginning of your career. Go, you know. It is limited now, the number of people they let in. They take younger people on, and if you have the chance, go in. Go in, because you learn, and from there you can still develop and see what happens. But now to come back to the point you try to make, I do not know if they do not want. I think at this moment, the situation forces us to change the players all the time and to improvise. And we cannot at this moment put something on a long way. There is no long perspective anymore.
in my opinion, it's a lot the part the part of the market of the relationships and the publicity agencies is very big in the situation to make a new star.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of money and publicity. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Makeup, no? And they are not focused in make a long career and to see a long because
Mm-hmm.
they are always they want always something new and change. And that is one of the things you said before are changing.
Yep.
Because
Still, I believe it's definitely a way, a procedure that is taking place. I agree. But I think when you are well enough and when you are good enough, you can also do without them after a while. A good singer with a good career, they don't need the publicity after a while. They can make their own. They are their own publicity.
well, but,
You know?
but if you think years ago, is really you have rehearsal for 2 months, the whole ensemble together and everything, and also because the financial situation is not the best, you cannot keep now together 10 singers.
No, we definitely go. We move to a system that you see, especially in Southeast Asia, where the production period is very limited, extremely limited, right? And everything is extremely well organized, of course, there, and that's the reason why they can do it. But I did The Merry Widow in Seoul, South Korea, with 4 rehearsals on stage before the Generale. You know, of course, what is the big difference? When we come on stage the first day, everything works. No, try that here. You know, it takes them a week before they know where to put in the electricity. And then they start all thinking and they all start looking at it. I think the efficiency needs to rise simply because we have less time and we have less money, right? Whether this also means that the careers are going to be shorter, I do not know. Definitely, publicity-wise, yes, but the good singers still will survive and keep on going. And they will, maybe instead of doing 5 new productions, they will have to do 10 because it goes faster and it goes quicker and they have to move around more. But I believe in, for me, the positive thing is, and that's actually the message I want to send, not if it was not positive, I would not say it. But for me, the positive thing is that what I see now creates more possibilities than I thought it would, and more possibilities than it ever did for young people to start a career. Also because we do not have the money, we do not have the possibility, so we have to pay them less, and a younger singer doesn't cost so much. You know, all the reasons I was giving, smaller ensembles in Germany, whatever, people can come in, younger can come in, younger ensembles are founded. I think there is a good and a positive evolution, definitely.
Getting focused on our students that you know from the Opera, International Opera Academy.
Yes.
We were talking before that you understood there was a lack of professionality on our students regarding languages, regarding whatever. But could you please tell us something about that?
Yes. Yes. There is a big lack in patience. Patience. You all want to go fast, very quick. You want to move forward. You want to do it tomorrow. Actually, you wanted to do it already yesterday. That's one thing. There is a lack on profound studies. Profound. You think that when you learn the text and the notes, that you know the role. Well, you don't. You don't. I'm just coming from Antwerp, the Royal Academy, where I was giving a workshop with operetta. Operetta is very often, it's a little bit like the zarzuelas, as you know, it's different style, but you know. And people think that's crap. That's opera for tourists, you know, for lost Japanese tourists in Vienna. It's not. I mean, the Fledermaus, you know, it's a fantastic score. It's a brilliant score. And we, for instance, we always tell our students, if you want, for instance, to know how brilliant it is, first, and if you want to know the job of a conductor, you have to watch on YouTube. That's a channel where you all are on. You know, that's another problem. I will come to that. So you watch Carlos Kleiber, yes, conducting the Ouverture of Fledermaus. And then you understand what and how profound this music is, how profound an interpretation of music can be, what the work of a conductor should be, and also for you as a singer. Because that's what I see. You Think too quickly, I know it. And you have no personal opinion. Now, how should you? If you do not study it profound enough, if you want to go too fast, if you don't take enough time, you cannot know it well enough. And so you are superficial, and then they get frustrated. They get frustrated because we demand a lot. Yeah? It's not because we need more singers that every young singer now can have a part in the game. No, 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 no. The selection will still be made. There is still a selection, and you have to stand out. And that needs a discipline as well. A discipline. You know? You have also to go and see productions, live productions, as much as you can. You have to discuss amongst you singers what you have been seeing. And when you talk about the production, don't talk about the color of the costumes. You know, you need to find a vocabulary to talk about it. You know, when we go into a restaurant, we can come out of the restaurant and say, this was great, good value, price, and quality of the food. But when you want to become a cook, I want you to tell a little bit more about the restaurant visit, about the cuisine, the quality of all the ingredients, about the setting, about the service, and that is what a singer needs to do about opera. You know, if you need to talk about it, if they want more from you as a singer, to talk about the role, you have to need a vocabulary to talk about it. You know? And then the big danger, of course, I said it already, is YouTube and everything else. We see this is a drama from people coming, again, from Southeast Asia, because they are the perfect copycats. They watch something and they can do it. It's incredible. And we already learn, we know which video they watched. Because they do it so well that you can say, that's Gedda. Or that's Sutherland. Or that's, can immediately, don't. Of course, you can watch it, but not to imitate. And please do not watch one. Watch them all, and watch them in different time sets. Boyes Koffus, we were Lippenschweigen yesterday. I was with my students doing Lippenschweigen. Boyes Koffus now singing that, or Boyes Koffus singing that in 1998. Now that's a world of difference. And if you want to sing Danilo, you better sing it as he did in 1998 and not now. You don't want to hear this anymore, And then you take the score, and you also see in 1998, he was singing what Lehar was writing. And now he is doing his own show about this, And these are things that come now from, too quick, too fast. And it is an Olympic discipline. It's an Olympic discipline. It's not just something for fun. It can be very funny, but it is an Olympic discipline, and that needs a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work. And that we see very often, that they too quick give up. It's too quick, too much. A student come to my class and say, do I have to stand for the whole lesson, sir? I beg your pardon? No, of course not. Of course not. Go. Do your shopping. Go to the doctor. Do whatever you have to do. I mean, I can only recall that I'm a little bit older, but not that old. I mean, we slept in our school. It was not allowed. We were there day in, day out. Always working, always trying to find things out, to explore the things. And now it looks like a 9-to-5 job. That's not possible. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's a way of living. It's an art of living as well. And all these skills, you cannot choose. You cannot pick and say, oh, that I don't do. Oh, that I don't like. You have to do it all. You know? And that's what at least we try in our training, because there is a huge gap, cultural gap. You know, you have the Germans come in, you don't have to teach them anything about understanding because they really understand. They're trained like that as kids. They have a huge, big cultural background. They analyze everything, they read about it. They know it. They know it. Then you have the Southerners. Easy, they copy. Very good in copying. Right? The Americans, they pretend that they understand and that they... Yeah. So everybody has his own quality. But at one point, you all are aiming for the same job. And then the difference is not your ID card, but who you are as a performer. So in order to be the one who is picked, the one who is chosen, you better make sure that you train yourself well on all the aspects. You know? Yes, I have nostalgia when I had to do my first opera production. I come from straight theater, and the boss of the opera house said to me, "You know what, Julstem?" Because I was always talking about opera has so much money and we in theater, we have nothing, and I think they do not deserve that money for the crap they're doing, like this. I was a young, angry artist. And so the intendant of the opera said, "You know what, instead of talking, if you think you can do it better, do it." I thought, shit, what now? Because I had no idea, all right? And he said, "And by the way," he said, "I need a Rossini opera, choose one." And I had to go with a bicycle to the library. There was no internet, there was the bicycle, and then I had to look what was there. You know, you had not operas. It's not like the library over here. It was the one from the city, right? And so there was only one opera available. And it happened to be La Cenerentola. And of course, I also knew that study, that piece from my youth, because my grandmother told me the story of La Cenerentola, Aschenputtel. So the next day, I went back to the opera intendant and I said, "I know it, Rossini La Cenerentola." And he was impressed. He thought, Jesus, he studied all these operas and then he picked this one. No, I picked this one simply because it was the only one that was there, you know. But then it started, of course, because if you have a big mouth and if you want to stand out there, then you have to do it. Then you have to do it. And I learned by doing, but I learned also by asking. I asked the singers at one point, because, you know, you have there in Cenerentola, you have these wonderful Rossini ensembles, questo gruppo ritrecciato, and then they speak all together, 6, 7 voices, which in theater never happens. Well, not in that period of time. The classical theater pieces, not 6 people are talking together at the same time, but they do in Rossini. I had no idea what to do. In Spain. Yeah, in Spain also. Yes, it's true. Okay, well, anyway, I asked the singers, how can we do this? How can we manage this? But we worked, and we worked long after our rehearsals to find out together. There were also young singers and some experienced ones, and that was how we could make it together. You know, also in daring to say, "I do not know," or "Please help me," or "Please, can you explain this to me clearly what I want to do?" Very often, as I said before, I have people saying, oh yeah, and I think, but they do not understand what I mean. Sometimes I don't understand myself. So how could they understand? And I was always so surprised. It happened to me once, really. It happened to me once in Amsterdam. I did the first part of Elisir d'Amore, okay, until the break. And then I invited the whole choir, huge people, bigger hall than here, for the second part. And I was really explaining them what was going to happen in the second part. And I told a complete fucked up story. Without knowing it. But the way how I was talking, obviously it worked. And nobody asked a question. And nobody says, "Sorry, but this is completely wrong. I know this opera, and what you tell is completely crap. This is not happening in this opera." You know? Asking, saying, stand up and say, "Sorry, I do not get this. You know? I learned that the first thing I said to my students always is their target should be to be here on my place. That's your target. And in order to be there, we have to discuss. We have to find out. You have to learn. I can teach you. I cannot teach you everything. And I'm not always having the truth. Maybe the truth is by another teacher. Go and look for it. You know, if you have a doubt, ask for it. Too many young singers, they just run after themselves all the time. They have no orientation, they have no focus, they have no plan, they have no structure, and they do not communicate well enough. Therefore, the languages are very important. Very important. Education in these days. You know what? I have to do an examination in English. They figured out that I'm teaching in the master degree and that I have myself no degree in English yet. So now I have to do an examination. After 25 years teaching in that school, now I have to go to the embassy, the British embassy, and do a test. So maybe I'm not there anymore next time. But the languages are very important. Yes. Acting not as a form of illustration. Not illustration. Do you know what that is? Just doing that what is written. Just, making a kind of a picture towards a sentence. No, interpretation. That's what acting is about. Know the text. Non so più, non so più. When you sing non so più, what is Cherubino meaning with non so più? And then don't translate it, because that's what people very often think. If they are asked, what do you mean, they translate the text, as if the conductor or the director is stupid and do not understand the text. It's not that what we ask, is what does it mean for you? How does that feel for you? That's what you have to learn. And that's what I mean with digging into the text, digging into the score, more profound than you very obviously used to do, to reach the next level. And then whether the career is going to be short or it depends also on many other things, because I'm still with that question in my head there. Also in relationships, luck. Luck. You have to meet the right person on the right moment. It is still a big factor in our business. Therefore, you need to go out. You need to go out. Everyone should go out of his country and then come back. Come back. But don't focus from the start on. I was teaching in the Untitled Chapter in Barcelona, and I had a student who come from Reus. And so I asked him, first lesson, where are you coming from? I said, I come from Reus. I said, okay. I said, and where do you live? I said, I live in Reus. Okay, good. I said, and what do you want to do? He said, I want to make theater. I said, yeah, that's good, because Untitled Chapter, we teach people for theater. I said, where would you like to do that? In Reus. And I'm sure they look for talented people in Reus, but not to make your living. Not to make your living. You have to go out.
So let's say they decide to apply to your program. You have 12 single students, 3 piano students. Right?
At this moment, yes.
But this is the average number of
Yes,
students.
we have a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 15.
That means you have like 2 sopranos, 2 tenors, 2
No.
baritons, so it depends on the...
It depends on the best ones.
You may have like all sopranos?
No, that makes me crazy. I'm sorry, sopranos, But you understand, it makes even the sopranos crazy. No, but what we then do is that we have collaborations, which we are looking forward between our institutes and with other institutions to invite for certain roles other singers for certain productions. But of course we try if we can get a balance in such an ensemble. It's wonderful, you know. It's like now we have 2 baritons, we had like 2 tenores, we have 2 mezzos. So we have a good balance at this moment. The lack of basses, of course, there you go. There you go. The basses on a young age, not well enough developed yet. We have to wait and see always. Then we get some bass from another program and let them join. We have contralto. We have not. We had one. Last year. Last year we had one. Very good, because he starts singing also things completely out of the box. And basically that's also where he makes his living from at the moment. He sang also he sang in Fledermaus and things. And we went out of the box. He wanted that. He came also with that. He said, I've sung all my life Baroque. You know, that I can do. But now I also want to do other things. And that he learned and he did. So we have the program is 2 years, in which the first year is a training year. So in the first year, we kind of have a limited outside activities. So we have like 1 small production or 2, like 1 or 2 concerts, 1 with orchestra, but more training in the first year. And the second year, it's the other way around. We have a number of productions, of which one is a fully staged production with orchestra, minimum 1. Concerts with orchestra. We now, this year for instance, we did music of all the Mozart operas, all of them, with the National Orchestra of Belgium, semi-staged. So these kind of projects we do with our students as well, you know. But the second year we go more out. We have relationships with opera houses, of which 2 are in Spain, the Opera of Sevilla and the Opera of Oviedo. So we are connected with them, and that makes that we have in the second year possibilities for students to go and take part in a production there. Not always big roles, but now next year we will have Mazzetto. One of our students, the baritone, is going to do Mazzetto in Oviedo. So, and of course we have that with the Flanders Opera and Ballet, where we do many productions together with them. We have a liaison with them. Gives also the opportunity for our students to go and see the productions there. The dramaturgs from the opera house, they come and they train you on how to look to the opera production, how to analyze the production, and then you can go and see the production with them. So that the biggest difference is training in the first year, still training in the second year, but more productions. Of course, very important, audition training. Also auditions for agencies. We have a course called Methodology, and in that course you will meet all kind of people from the business. So you will meet the director, comes and talk about his job. You talk about casting director from the opera house. How is he or she working? How do you have to deal when you make contracts with them? A journalist, how do you deal with interviews? How do you make your portfolio? Should the portfolio not be digital now in these days? And how do you make that? What do you put on social media? And what don't you put on social media? That's a big item, by the way. It takes 2 weeks to explain that. We have the agent, meet the agent, you know, the job of the agent. And that we all have in that first year as well. The second year, the same agent comes back and then he trains, or she trains you to prepare for audition. We also train you for auditions. And then we do an agent day. We invite agencies to come and see you performing. As we ask, of course, the people from the opera houses where we deal with to come and see you. Right? So that is the process or the part of the thing we want to do with our institute to, as I said, to put our foot in between the door, between the school and the world of opera. That's our main goal. But before we let you out, we have to be sure that you're good enough. You know? We only take students every second year. So now everybody is basically in the first year. Next year, they're all in the second year. And then we have, at the end of this now, in May, June, auditions, simply because we have always people who may stop their studies, or we need more baritons, or we need more tenors, or we need whatever, and then we do specific auditions for people who then join us for that production year. Right? So we know which production we're going to do next year, and we already know we don't have all of these singers. Apart from the fact that we do not know if they all stay for the next year. So then we need to take other ones on board for an extra year.
Once they're accepted, they get a stipendium, they get a scholarship, or they have to pay for their own living?
It is so that you have to pay officially 1,750 euros. That's the money you need to pay every year. But we do not guarantee, because officially I cannot guarantee that, but mostly we have sponsors who pay that money. Okay, but you pay for your living, yes. The living expenses are your expenses to do. In Ghent, which is of course a city with 65,000 students, that is a lot, seeing the size of the city of Ghent. It's a big university city, very young city. It's very well located because you are in half an hour in Antwerp. That means you are in 2 hours in Amsterdam. You are in half an hour in Brussels. That means you are in 1.5 hours in Paris, and all with direct train connections. You're 30 minutes from the seaside, and that also means that you are 2.5 hours from London, you know, all with direct train connections. And of course to Germany, where you are near the border, where you have all these opera houses, Düsseldorf, Köln, Essen, Wuppertal, that's all within reach, of course. You know, gives opportunity to go and see the things out there as well.
And the academic fees, can they be covered with an Erasmus program?
No, because
Trainees or something?
no, we cannot, because the Erasmus program only counts for institutions who have a bachelor-master system. And we do not have the bachelor-master. We are postgraduate. So we are the higher, as they call the higher art education. And we do not ask for diploma. You have to pass the auditions. The auditions are in 3 rounds. The first round, sometimes we even come to here. We were here 3 years ago. So we go to places in Europe and we do auditions over there, or by video. That's the first selection. Then after the first selection, a professional jury makes the second selection. So all these selected people are sent to the professional jury, as we call it, and they are people from the business. So the intendant from the Flanders Opera, the casting director, voice teachers, whatever. Oh, by the way, we have no voice teachers. We have vocal advisors, okay? Because we cannot have the right voice teacher for everybody. I always say to singers, you know, there are 3 things I cannot do. I cannot say who should be your agent, I cannot say who should be your singing teacher, and I can also not say who should be your lover. These 3 things you have to find out yourself. It's a very personal issue, and I cannot generalize that, but we have very good vocal advisors who come monthly. So no, even more than, you know, well, they come monthly, but we have 3 of them. And you can check them on the web list, on the website. It's Dietrich Henschel, Charlotte Margiono, and Martin Wölfel. So they're very trained professors, and they come and do the vocal advice with us. Right? What was I saying before the vocal advisement? Saying something else?
The Erasmus program.
Oh yes. So that we do not have the Erasmus as such, but the fee, the 1,750, as I said, mostly we have sponsors for that. At this moment, we have 15 singers and no one is paying the fee. I have enough sponsors. We are sponsored by the Minister of Education. We have €500,000 to pay everything from that, and 10% of the budget I have to get in myself. And that I do by sponsors and own income like ticket sale.
Yeah, well, I can ask you afterwards a bit more about this, because I'm especially interested in the Erasmus program. Also allows us to send students with a traineeship, not as students of a bachelor or master program.
Okay.
So the only thing we need for the host institution is that it is a private company. It can be simply a private company. And we sign an agreement by which we specify what this person, this student, is going to be doing in her year in Ghent. And then we can finance the students.
Aha.
We can pay with Erasmus funds. So my question was, if as a private company, you could also perhaps sign such an agreement.
We can also, I think that we also can sign it. We definitely can sign it, I think.
Okay, that's good.
Because we are sponsored by the government of education, right? But we are on ourselves a company sponsored by the Minister of Education. So I definitely will check that to be 100% sure, but I think that could work out. Oh, no, I know what I was saying, because we do not ask for degree either. So you do not have to be a bachelor or a master. You just have to pass the auditions. That's why it is possible for young singers, like coming from Portugal on the age of 20, 21, and they come in when they're good enough. You know?
And you said that there are 3 stages.
Yes.
Explain 2. You never said what
And the third one, gracias. Gracias, Carmen. Yeah, it's. I'm over time already. I'm already talking for 1.5 hours. Really?
We have to thinking.
Oh my God. I normally speak 1 hour and 40 minutes, and now I'm 1 hour and, okay. Anyway, the third step is that you have to come for a week to Ghent and work with us. And then the teachers decide, finally.
That's fantastic. I wish we could that.
That's the third step.
Because sometimes auditions are good enough, but then when you work with them for a week, you decide that something's not working.
We have shoot in our own foot due to Corona and not be able to do for everybody live auditions. We missed it this time. We missed it. And we can cover up a lot, and we can see through video recordings, and but you cannot see everything. You know, you cannot check the language really. And there, once again, I mean, some of them are so fantastic, you know, in miming, maybe even, you know, they just speak, but they have the subtitles in front of them. They translated what they were going to say, you know, and they say it in perfect English, and then you meet the person, he cannot speak 2 words of English. And the video was perfect. And then, of course, we immediately see it, and then they have to do extra work, because then we have a very strong evaluation system as well. So we evaluate in the first year 3 times, in the second year 2 times. All teachers come together, sit together, speak about every individual case, and then this is transmitted to the individual student. Not just by scores, by a meeting. So every student comes and talks to us, and we tell you what every teacher thought about you, where the positive things are, the negative things, what you have to do better, etc., etc.
age limit for the students?
Yes, we have. What is it, Hein? 32? 32. And then we have, that's the general rule, but when you are a bass, you're also welcome when you're 33.
If you're a pianist?
Pianists, similar.
Similar.
Yes, similar. It also has to do, it has to do sometimes with the dynamics. And we see that also in such a week when all the students come together, then we sometimes, when we have a very young group, and then all of a sudden you have this one or two standing out with a difference of age from 7, 8 years, it's a lot. And in the past, we have had some strange experiences, some things within the group of students, and since we cooperate so much together, it's important. You never can make the right choices on personal relationships before, but you can avoid problems sometimes. And it depends on the dynamic of the group. This group, for instance, would not survive an older person. It's a very young group, you know, and you feel that. They would not. We see that because we have exceptionally some students which could stay an extra year due to the COVID last year, right? So that means they are quite more experienced than the first years, of course. And it's good, but it's also sometimes very difficult. Yes?
What do you look for in your candidates, I mean the singers, apart from individuality?
I have it here in front of me. I don't like singers, but I do like artists who perform on a very personal, pure way with the use of their whole instrument.
Oh my God.
Well, you asked me the question. This is the answer. Let's see. I just did this go, and there it is.
Can you repeat it, please?
No, are you kidding? No. It is recorded. You can always rewind and rewind and rewind it.
And do you choose first your operas and then the candidates, or
No.
otherwise?
No, because we first the candidates and then the operas. Yes, and then the teams. Now we have, for next year, for instance, a Spanish team coming in doing the production, also a production team. Very good young designer from Madrid, Alexandro, what is his name again? He's from here, from this city. He's great. I think you probably know him. I should, of course, know his name by heart, but the second name I don't know. And the director is going to be Carlos Wagner. Carlos Wagner he's not German. He's from Venezuela, but he lives in Barcelona. Voilà. Well, you will find, no, his email is alexandro.teatro. So that doesn't really help me. You will find it out on the website. So these are people always engaged for the production, but we first start with the singers, and then we see what we do. Yeah. Also, the opera house very often talks with us because they pay for the production costs they pay. So they also decide with us what could be an interesting title to do.
But maybe if you have, I don't know, 15 singers, the 15 singers don't sing. Maybe 5 just.
No, the big production, everybody sings. Then sometimes we do double cast because we do enough performances, not just in Ghent. We don't do them in our school, it's outside. It's also in the opera house that we sometimes perform, and then we have a double cast. No. Everybody is guaranteed the big production.
Okay, so maybe you have to have 7/7, for example.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever.
And similar voices, I mean.
Yes.
Two lyrics.
Yeah, or we choose another opera. I mean, you have operas. We did last year, we did a piece called Love Music. And it is actually all music from Kurt Weill. And it is about the life of Kurt Weill. So it was a Broadway production, but it is also made for the Opera House in Leipzig. And everybody could participate in that, and everybody had big roles to do, because actually it was a pistache from all kind of Kurt Weill leader, and there was made a story out of it, an existing production, and everybody was on. It was not a problem at all. Now they are preparing, as we speak, they just did a stage version of the Bach Cantate number 102 by Peter Konvichny. I don't know if you know Peter Konvichny, but Peter Konvichny is one of the big German directors of our time, and he wanted to direct Bach Cantate, and we did it. Everybody was thinking, huh? What? I can tell you, for me, it was the best Bach experience ever. Ever. It was so alive, it was so emotional, it was so powerful, and not this celebration always of it was the force of the piece came out by staging it. Now next week they will start with a production with all kind of music from Purcell, Hein?
Yes. From different operas and also songs.
Yeah. So again, and there comes a director, and in 2 to 3 weeks they make a whole production out of it. So they've picked together with Hein, according to the voices we have, music from Purcell, and they make a production out of it. And they perform it in the music house in Ghent for a festival. See? So all kind of projects. But check it out, www.ioacademy.be, and then you will find all the information about the things that we are planning now. But once again, tomorrow is another year, and I'll change the program again. You know? Okay? ¿Está?
Thank you very much for your...
Thank you. Pleasure. And we see each other, well, most of you, I hope, tomorrow, singing here. I look forward to that. Good. There also, I'll be very honest, I love Mozart a Ponte. I adore Mozart a Ponte. I spent most of my life working with these operas. I did Così fan tutte 14 times, Nozze di Figaro about 11, and Don Giovanni for 5 times, I think. So there you go, all over the world. I've been presenting these shows. Very often the same, but I always went myself. I never let it in the hands of my assistant, because it is so counting on the characters. You know, every Cherubino is different. I could not just have a copy of what I've been doing before. I had to go myself and see who is there, what does she think, how does she look, how does she, you know, so that's why I want to do this Mozart a Ponte. And on top of that, Mozart, in Mozart you hear everything. It's the doctor for the voice, it's a medicine for the voice. Everybody should sing Mozart and keep singing Mozart. Also later.
There's also sesto that you were asking,
Yes,
that
I was
there's
going
not
to
the
say
Ponte, but...
Mozart a Ponte, that is Mozart as well.
So
If you don't care, it's sesto, but I cannot say.
He is very good in sesto. Hein. He's a specialist in sesto.
Oh my God.
do you prefer listening Mozart a Ponte, or you prefer, do you want listen another propose?
Well, we said French repertoire, German repertoire, and Mozart a Ponte. Yes, so anything from that.
But I only want to know that what do you prefer?
What would you like? You know what? That's something you should decide. There is. I'm going tomorrow to talk, because now it's really over. But how to prepare for auditions? That's an important issue as well. We didn't have the time now to do that, but that's also part for a later training. But you should always, and on this rule number 1, you only sing what you can sing at your best at the present day of the audition. That's rule number 1. You don't sing anything else. Because it's maybe the first chance, but it can also be your last chance. And there is no excuse. These are the 3 basic rules in auditions. There's no excuse for nothing. You cannot come late, you cannot, if you don't feel well, don't go. And don't sing anything you should not sing. And dress normal, feel good the way you're dressed. Don't dress up too much, you know. In style, yes, yeah, but you have to feel good in that. It's your identity card. Eh? You cannot enter a country with a mistake on your identity card, can you? No false identity cards.
We are now in our open doors day, 3 days. And we have a talk yesterday in this room with the students that were to make the admissions exams. And we was talking, they was always asking what we should sing on the
audition.
audition exam, and I told them they didn't think about the people usually think, yes, I want to sing that because I want to impress the jury because it's difficult, because that's too easy, and I said, no, you have to sing when you feel more comfortable and feel
Yes.
sure about
Yes.
it, and not to sing what we are expecting.
Yeah, exactly. But we should do it one day, once an audition training. Well, when you come to the IOA, you get it anyway. Also in how to make your repertoire, your choice of repertoire, right? Then if they tell you that you can choose the first piece, yes, there are also tricks to know what you better choose, yeah, and what you don't. If you choose to start with Glitter and Be Gay, then you know that's it. Because it takes so long, and there you have to do it from the beginning. It needs to be good or it's nothing. Correct? So if you have it on... Yeah? You never start with it. Never. Start with a Mozart or something else. Yeah? And if you have Mozart and you pick it in, they very often will take it out as a second choice. Yeah? So if you have, for instance, Sophie van Werther, very short, start with it. So you can start, if you can, also with something that starts with a recit. So that you don't have to start immediately to sing, that you have the possibility in a secco recitativo to calm down a little bit, find the speech, so these are all kind of tricks one can use in auditions. But that's for another time, because now it's really, 8:15. I'm.
Thank you.
Okay.
You have to rush.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I have to drive now. Thank you a lot.
We
We keep in touch.
we keep in touch. Yes. Okay.
This is just the beginning.
Okay.
Okay.
Muchas gracias. Ciao. And success tomorrow.
Thank you.
May I ask you a question?
Yes.
I want to sing Sesto because I was working on Cherubino years ago, but I think today my best character is Sesto.
Yeah. What you sing it.